In the previous videos, we looked at shortcuts for styling your content as well as some general essential keyboard shortcuts. In this one, we're going to look at editing shortcuts for editing and moving your blocks. Before we start, a couple of points to take note of is that, first of all, the shortcuts here are for Mac, but if you're using Windows or Linux, you should be able to replace the command with your control key as well as the option with your alt key. The second point is that everything in Notion is basically a block, whether it's a line or an image or a paragraph, and you can tell that by just looking at the left side. If you see 6 dots, that's going to be a sign that this is a whole block. So this whole chunk here is a block. Now also, if you find this video useful, do give it a like and share it, and do consider subscribing for more such videos. Alright, now with that out of the way, let's get started. So the first point here is about selecting individual blocks. So there are a couple of ways you can do this. First of all is you can select the block that you're currently in by pressing the escape key. So if you do that, you select the whole block and then you can just delete the block, let's say. Or alternatively, you can use Command A or Control A to select just the content inside that block. Point number 2 is about selecting multiple blocks. There are a few ways you can do this. First of all is you can click anywhere in your block and hold down the shift and then press the up and down arrow keys to select the content that you want. If you are already selecting a block, then that's going to select the blocks above and below that current block. But an even faster way to do this, if let's say you already know which section of the blocks that you want to select, then you can just click here and then hold the shift key and press click on whichever block you want to select up to. So let's say I select here, then I'll select this whole chunk, and then you can move this chunk or delete this chunk depending on what you want to do with it. Next is about moving blocks this time. Again, a couple of ways you can do this. First is Command Shift arrow keys to move the blocks up and down. So if I want to move this block into the previous section, I can just do Command Shift and the up arrow keys or the down arrow keys. And if you want to move blocks left or right, then that's basically the tab key, whether you want to indent or outdent. So in this case, I can do Shift tab to move the content out or tab to move it in. So this is going to be really useful, especially if let's say you have a list here and you want to indent that list. Then I'll just do tab and I can just do tab here to create a nested list just like that. Number 4 is about how to navigate page hierarchies. So what this basically means is how you can navigate from page to page just using your keyboard. So say if you're on a deep page, let's say here, and another page, and yet another page, and you want to navigate out of this, then you can do Command Shift U to move out of this page just like that. And the difference with this and the other shortcut, Command square bracket, which is another similar shortcut, is that basically Command square bracket will bring you to the previous page that you visited. So say I visited deep page, and I use Command Shift U to get out, and then now I visit another page. Then if I were to use the square brackets, so Command square bracket, I can move back to the base page and then back to the deep page. But on the other hand, if I were to use the Command Shift U, then I can only move back to the base page. And if I do Command Shift U again, you notice that I don't actually move anywhere else because this is the base page for me. I hope that makes sense. Number 5 is about how you can duplicate blocks. So again, a couple of ways you can do this. First of all is to use Command D. So let's say you select a block and you want to duplicate this, just do Command D, and that's going to duplicate this whole block. And you can move it wherever you want. But let's say you want to duplicate this, but you also want to move it somewhere else. Then there's a shortcut to do that, which is to just hold on the Option or Alt key and then move the block to wherever you want. So let's say I want to move it right above, then I can just do it like that. The next shortcut is about how you can change block types. To do that, you can do Command slash or slash turn. So let's say I want to change this to a bullet point. I can just do Command slash, search for bulleted list, and then there we have it. Or you can do slash turn and change it to a toggle list, and there you have it as well. And of course, you can do this for multiple blocks as well. So let's go back. Let's say you have a sample table here and you want to change all of these tags here. Let's say you want to change all of these tags into a different fruit. Let's say you want to change it to apple. Then you can select all of these blocks, do a Command slash, and here I want to change the tags. So I'll search for tags. I'll edit this property to, let's say, if I want to add in multiple tags, I can just do apple, orange. Or if I only want a specific value, I can just delete the rest and leave it as apple. And so this shortcut is really useful if let's say you want to change multiple entries in your table to a certain value. Last but not least, we have a shortcut, or rather just a tip for how you can create columns within your page. So typically you would create your notes from top down in this fashion. But if let's say you want to have multiple columns as a different way to segment your content, then one way you can do that is to just drag the blocks to form the columns. So you can see drag this section 2. And you notice that here you can see it's horizontal, this blue line, but if you drag it here, you can see we have a vertical line. Release your mouse and you will have a second column created. And I believe you can also create as many columns as you want. Let's say we have a few other duplicates we can create these sections just like that. So pretty useful, but of course you notice this is going to squeeze your other columns and there's less space for content. So let's undo this. Another key point to take note of is that you can also drag this sidebar here to increase or decrease the width of your sections. So that's also pretty helpful if you want a larger space for one of these sections. Additionally, because we are within this number 7 block, you can see that we are only able to create sections or columns right next to this block. So typically you might have this outside, this section 1, and then you have a section 2 that's here, and then drag it here. You have it side by side rather than inside a particular toggle list. So that's it for the 7 editing keyboard shortcuts. I hope you found this useful. Let me know in the comment section what are your favorite editing keyboard shortcuts for Notion, and I'll be happy to hear. If you have any comments or suggestions, please feel free to reach out in the comment section as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.